Hey everybody, Nate Peo here. You've probably heard you should be networking on LinkedIn if you want to meet new clients. We have no idea where to begin. What I've done is I've created a 5-step guide to help make your profile stand out and helping you get started connecting. When you start building your network, you're going to start attracting more leads. So it's easy. Head on over to my website, natepeo.com, sign up and get my 5 steps of standing out on LinkedIn. It'll show you how to start building your network.
From author Donnie Bovine comes the book, How to Be a Success Champion, available on Amazon. After years of living other people's dreams, author Donnie Bovine decided to jump out on his own and start a business, thinking it would be easy. Instead, he had a rude awakening and quickly understood that he had spent 20 years being an employee and had no idea how to be a business owner. His business was tanking, and he was on the brink of losing everything when he decided to fight for business freedom. In this must-read and life-changing book, author Donnie Bovine shares with readers his story intermingled with lessons learned from his mistakes and his failures. In How to Be a Success Champion, you will find advice the author received from mentors and how he went from zero to a 6-figure business. The author walks you through the steps of how to get out of your own way, how to play the game of business and win, find your strengths, how to network effectively, how to build a personal brand, how to create champions for your business, how to get great at sales, how to take complete ownership of you and your business. How to Be a Success Champion from author Donnie Bovine, available on Amazon in both Kindle and paperback editions. Order your copy right now. It makes a great book for corporate events too. How to Be a Success Champion from author Donnie Bovine, available on Amazon.
Want to go far in business and in life? You can't do it alone. The secret is expanding your network of personal relationships, building friendships, connecting on an intimate level, away from the office, over a coffee or cocktail. Welcome to All In with the real Nate Peo. The show that asks what happens when you go all in and leverage the power of your network of personal relationships.
Hello, and welcome to the All In podcast with Nate Peo. Of course, I am your host, Nate Peo. I'm joined today with Nancy Delain. Nancy is a solo lawyer who concentrates her practice in intellectual property, business law, and bankruptcy matters. She runs Delain Law Office as a virtual law practice with physical presence in Schenectady, New York. She is admitted as an attorney in New York and as a patent attorney before the United States Patent and Trademark Office. Welcome to the show, Nancy. How are you?
Thank you, Nate. I'm well. How are you?
Doing well. So, this is a show that likes to talk about networking and how you build your personal connections. I think that's how we met. We shared a connection, and I was chatting with that person. I said, "Hey, anybody in the space? I'm looking to get connected to entrepreneurs." She's like, "Well, I know somebody that just spends a lot of time in intellectual property law, and she probably knows some people." And then we had a conversation. We're like, "Hey, let's jump on and have a conversation and see what we're up to." So I'm excited to chat with you.
Yeah, this is going to be fun. I'm looking forward to it.
Yeah, cool. So my first question is, what does it mean to be, my first question is, what does the word luck mean to you?
Luck. Luck means there's a lot of being in the right place at the right time. But you also have to know that you're in the right place at the right time, and you have to work to get to the right place at the right time. For example, I am a great fan of an actor by the name of Derek Jacobi. And Derek Jacobi describes himself as the luckiest actor in existence because he was in the right place at the right time for many things. But it was not just serendipity that did that. He put himself in the right place. He got his first break out of Cambridge University. He was an English actor. He's one of the Shakespeare preeminent people, and he worked with people like Laurence Olivier. You know, for an actor of Derek's generation, you can't go wrong working with Laurence Olivier.
Right.
So a lot of it is working to get to know the people and be in the places where those people will be to see you, to know where you are. And so, yes, luck has to do with being discovered on the bar on the soda stool on Hollywood Boulevard, but it also has to do with intentionally putting yourself in luck's path.
Yeah, I agree with that. I always recommend to people, you say, hey, if you don't know where to go to get started, figure out where the people are you want to get connected with and just go hang out in those places. Like if you want to get started in underwater photography, you're probably not going to want to go hang out the golf course. Sure, you might meet somebody, but you're more likely to go hang out the scuba center, go hang out the photography place. Those are where you're going to start meeting with people that are into that interest you have, and it's going to take you eventually down a path where you're going to meet the people you want to. And the closer you get to your narrow focus, the more of the high level people you're going to meet in there. And it's all about being in the right places more often, so when the right time hits and strikes, you're there for it. Which is kind of odd, because when I asked that question, right before you started answering it, your clock started chiming, like ding ding, like the old grandfather clock. It was kind of
it isn't it's not a grandfather clock, it's an old mantle clock.
Yeah, I thought that was funny. It's kind of ominous that it happened right at that point. So tell me a little bit about your law firm and how you got started in law and why you kind of went down this path of IP, business law, and bankruptcy.
Okay. My law firm is me. I am the lawyer. I am the janitor. I am the chief cook and bottle washer. I'm also the cat herder, as you can tell by that's Lucy behind me.
Yes.
And and I got started. Well, I guess I've always had in the back of my head that being a lawyer would be kind of fun, because I enjoy being around people. I enjoy helping people out. And in order to do that, it was kind of a long and circuitous path. I was a biology major in college, actually. I didn't do pre-law. I didn't do government. I didn't do any of the normal things that lawyers major in. And I went to work for a couple of years in a virology lab, which told me that I did not want to be the next Nobel laureate in virology. So I was casting about, wondering what to do with myself, and I found a program at Rensselaer Polytechnic Institute in Troy, New York, for technical writing. So then I thought, okay, well, I've always liked to write, and could be a way to make a living at it, and might as well just do what I do here. And so I went and got my master's in tech writing from RPI, and I spent over 20 years, doing technical writing. People say to me, "What's a technical writer?" Well, my answer to that is, if you've ever put a child's bicycle together on Christmas Eve, some technical writer did that to you. Okay, but the idea of law school had never really gone out of my head. And then life happened, and I wasn't going down that path at all. And then I got married. I had my daughter, and the marriage failed. And I thought to myself, I need to do it now or never. Mm-hmm. So I took the LSAT, did well in the LSAT, got into law school, and I started off at a place called New England School of Law, which is in Boston. And I went there because they had what is called a special part-time program. And at the time, the special part-time program was very specifically for the caregivers of young children. I believe they've since expanded it to caregivers of elder people and, people who are responsible for taking care of their families. And I had a 9-year-old at the time, I was a single parent taking care of my kid. I qualified beautifully for that program. So I started off in that program. I was there for 2 years, and then my job in Boston went away. Nobody could afford to live in Boston without a job. So I transferred up to Franklin Pierce Law Center, which is now part of the University of New Hampshire, and finished off my law degree there. And I picked Franklin Pierce because at the time they were number 3 in the nation in intellectual property law.
Mm-hmm.
And they were close by, and it was, the other 2 places were in California. And I had to have my daughter close enough so that she could visit her father.
Right.
So I went to Franklin Pierce and finished off my law degree there. And I actually did law school right. That between those 2 school experiences, I did law school right. I knew I wanted to go into IP because as a technical writer, one of the gigs I had as a tech writer was to work in publishing.
Mm-hmm.
And I was the acquisitions editor for computer science for a company that's based in Heidelberg called Springer Verlag New York. And Springer Verlag was, I did the computer science acquisitions for Springer for a couple of years. And this was back in the days when floppy disks were actually floppy. So that dates me a little bit. And you could put the disk that had content on it in drive A, and
Mm-hmm.
put a blank disk in drive B, and write copy A:B:, and you would have an exact copy of the disk. And we didn't want people doing that.
Yeah.
We really didn't want people doing that. And so, as computer science editor, it was up to me to work with the copyright lawyer to come up with the killer copyright statement. I had fun. It was fun to do that. So then I saw the check we wrote her, and I thought to myself, I am definitely in the wrong business.
You did all the work and she got all the money.
Well, she did a lot. She did a lot of the work. I contributed, but she did the work. I will. She was the lawyer. She did the legal work, and but it was fun working with her, and it was eye-opening to see the check, and then this was early in my career as a tech writer, so life happened, and then I ended up going to law school, and I got out of law school, passed the New York State bar first time through the gate, passed the patent bar first time through the gate, and just never looked back.
Very cool. Very cool. So, IP is an important thing to do, especially for startups. And a lot of them probably overlook getting an attorney involved early. It's probably after they've gotten bit in the butt.
They might have already gotten the cease and desist letter. And that's pretty late in the game to be getting the lawyer involved.
Yeah. What's been your experience with helping startup businesses, new business owners, navigate IP law, and when should they look at getting, a consultation and review and actively seeking, maybe putting one on retainer or an ongoing arrangement?
I'm going to answer the last part of that question first. When should you look at putting an IP lawyer on your team? As soon as possible. Absolutely, as soon as possible. The reason for that is that IP law can get you into some very, very deep weeds if you don't do it right the first time.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, so you need to get out there and protect your own marks and your own copyrights and your own inventions. But in the same time, you need to not infringe on other people's, especially trademarks. Okay,
Yeah.
I see an awful lot of branding disputes. People just name themselves, Acme Motors, and Acme Motors that existed with Wile E. Coyote comes up and says, "Excuse me, but we've been in business for a long time, and you're using our mark and you're infringing it, and it's confusing the public, and stop."
Mm-hmm.
And you don't have a choice, really. I mean, you could try and fight the mark, but good luck with that. But you really don't have much of a choice other than to rebrand yourself, and that's expensive. you go through all the advertising, you go through all the advertising that says we are not associated with Acme Motors of blah de blah. We have been Acme Motors of you know of New York, and we're not associated with Acme Motors out in the desert.
Mm-hmm.
And we are hereby rebranding ourselves to be MEAC Motors. And I'm just coming up with names here just for the fun of it. And you need to do that expensive rebranding campaign, which of course means that you're going to be reprinting all your stationery, all your signage, all your checks, just anything that says Acme Motors on it. And it's that's not fun to do, especially when you're 2, 3, 4, 5, 10 years into business. And so that's
a tough one to do. So what types of businesses, I guess maybe what are the some of the horror stories of people coming to you and having to deal with unwinding it? What are the percentage of people that have these type of problems without getting a IP lawyer involved early?
Larger than you would like. I don't know the exact percentage of people who go into business and think they're going to do it just fine. I actually represented a lady who was being infringed upon once upon a time, and her mark was Patty Cake. She made cakes, and her name was Patty, so she called herself Patty Cake, and she had a valuable mark that was registered actually with New York State. It wasn't a federal mark. But somebody else came into New York State, and called themselves the Patty Cake Shop. And they made a product that was very different from my client's product. And, but it competed in the exact same space. They were both bakers. And my client took this lady absolutely to task. It was the result of a misunderstanding of what the search that this junior business was doing. Okay. And had that junior business gotten an intellectual property lawyer involved, the mistake would never have happened.
Right. Is it pretty expensive to defend IP, your own IP? And
it can be.
You hear the stories of people going, "Hey, somebody's just going to steal your IP. They got big pockets, so they'll sue you out until you can't defend it, and acquire it that way."
It can be, and that's a trolling technique that you just described, and most there are IP lawyers who will work with those people, but I'm not one of them. I don't like trolling. I think the trolling is not. It just goes against my grain to do that. But yes, it can be very expensive to defend your IP because most litigators, and I'm not a litigator, most litigators will charge you by the hour, and the hourly rates for IP litigation start at somewhere around $500.
Whoa.
So $500 an hour, cha-ching, 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 cha-ching. It adds up pretty quick.
Yeah. So instead of maybe all horror stories about the pitfalls and troubles you can get into with IP, what are maybe some of the benefits of working with an IP lawyer such as yourself early on in the process? And what are maybe some of the success stories that came out of that?
Okay. One of the great benefits is avoiding the pitfalls. Okay. we keep you out of trouble. That's our job. One of the great success stories that has come out of that in my practice has been I can't get terribly specific here, but I've got a case ongoing at this moment where there is a woman who has a foundation where she is raising money for sick children, and I'm in the middle of doing the trademark search to make sure that she can do this. And it's a mark that's going to be in a narrow niche, I'm in the middle of the search, but so far so good. We haven't found any conflicts with the mark. And you can get in trouble with conflicts with marks. If you come up against a movie studio mark, for example,
Mm-hmm.
um, if you even so much as use a mouse ear on your business card, and you have anything to do with Disney, you better have licensed that mouse ear. Okay.
Yeah, they'll come
So
get you if it's an iconic trademark. So,
they will. They will.
all right. Well, my next question for you is, what does it mean to you to be all in on an idea or an outcome?
Being all in on an idea or an outcome. It means for me, it means to give it my all, everything, every time I run a patent search, every time I write a patent, every time I run a trademark search, or work with the client to protect their trademark or their good name in business, or protect their copyright, or form their business, or even file that Chapter 7 bankruptcy.
Mm-hmm.
It means the client comes first. Okay. That's literally what it means. It means that I will go all out. I will do everything in my power to make sure that my client wins.
Mm-hmm.
And I don't mean win in the litigation sense. I mean manage. I mean has develops their business the way they should be developing it. I mean, has their trademark in place, has the protections in place that can be protected should somebody infringe.
Yeah.
That the licensing is in place if they want to monetize their intellectual property. That they're doing the franchise right. If they're franchising the trademark, that's what it means to me. It means to do my best for the client.
Yeah. So I think that's important to say because most people when they hire an attorney, they don't know a lot about what it's being done, and you
Mm-hmm.
don't necessarily know if it's being done right or
Mm-hmm.
like kind of right. There's a lot of
Yeah.
absolute in law. Like I think people don't realize how absolute things are when you're sitting in front of a judge or sitting in front of a jury and you're debating over, is this one single word, which could be the word is, or shall, is like defining whether or not your case is a win or a lose, and so you have to be very, very specific. And if you're not familiar with legal stuff, you might just assume you're getting your stuff done properly, but you could be very open to exposure because you read stuff in, I would say, like everyday language. Like, yeah, the gist of it makes sense. And it's like, no, like
Yeah.
this is when you
Yeah.
read
We're
it
not
word for
talking the
word.
gist. We're not talking gist here.
Yeah, it's very absolute. So I definitely recommend you hire an attorney to help you navigate this stuff and find one that's good, that's on your side, that's got the client in mind, because you're trusting them to do it the proper way. And the only way you find out that they did it wrong is when it really matters. And that's when you learn the lesson the hard way that you're not protected. It's like another form of insurance. Like you think you're covered, you better be covered and make sure your policy doesn't lapse. So
Right.
awesome stuff. Awesome stuff. So talk a little bit about the types of businesses, the types of clients that you work the best with, that work the best with you. Who are the people that you're looking for specifically?
I work well with small businesses.
Mm-hmm.
Um, either the small business is an individual. I use the analogy of David Packard, who started off in his garage building printers.
Mm-hmm.
And he built a better printer. He protected his better printer. And we all know that Hewlett Packard is a big company now.
Yes, it
Um,
is.
so I start off with Dave Packard. I would love to take a garage inventor, quote unquote, and send him on his way to turning himself into a behemoth if that's what he wants to do.
Mm-hmm.
Um, I work well with business. I work well with tech businesses. I spent many years in technology. As I said, I was a tech writer for 1,000 years before I turned into a lawyer.
Yeah.
And my particular background is in biological sciences, but those years in tech writing, I was doing computers.
Mm-hmm.
I haven't touched biology in years, decades. But it doesn't say I don't understand the basic structure of DNA, but I also understand the basic structure of a website too. So
Yeah.
I work well with people who are doing mechanical stuff, stuff that physical stuff that they're putting together.
Mm-hmm.
I work well with business methods. People who are developing new and transformative ways of doing business.
Right.
Okay. In terms of that, I work well with artists and authors and people who have works of authorship and creativity in that vein to protect. And that's pretty much who I work with. I don't like to go with the big companies. They have their own IP firms, their own IP departments, and I'd really rather stay with the little guys.
Very cool. Very cool. So, where can they find you?
They can find me at ipattorneyfirm.com.
Awesome. Awesome. So we'll put those links in the show notes so you can get connected with Nancy. If you reach out, see what, if you have any questions regarding IP law or anything along those lines, tell her where you found her, tell her where you came from, and say hi and connect with her. Awesome. Well, thank you so much for coming on the show, Nancy.
Well, thank you so much for having me, Nate. It's been a pleasure.
It has. Thank you.
Make sure to visit our website, therealnatepeo.com, where you can subscribe to the show on iTunes, so you'll never miss an episode of All In. While you're at it, if you found value, we'd appreciate a rating on iTunes, or if simply tell 2 friends about the show. Looking to connect? You can find Nate Peo on LinkedIn or Instagram.